Weeks had passed since I cast both Tunde and Uju out of my life. The pain didn't vanish overnight. It lingered, gnawed at my chest in the quiet moments, like when I breastfed Ziora in the early hours of the morning or stared into the empty corner where Uju used to laugh with me. But I was healing, until the betrayal sank even deeper. It was a Friday afternoon. I had just finished bathing Ziora when my neighbor, Mama Nkechi, knocked on the door with an odd expression on her face. My daughter, I didn't want to tell you but I can't keep quiet anymore. Are you aware Uju is pregnant? My hands paused in midair. Pregnant? I asked. Mama Nkechi leaned closer. Yes, and she's telling people around the estate that the baby is Tunde's. That this time, it's a boy, the son he always wanted. I stood there, numb. She's 3 months gone, Mama Nkechi added, lowering her voice. She said Tunde has promised to marry her properly once she gives birth to the boy and he confirms it's his. I felt the world crumble beneath me. So that was it. Tunde hadn't just cheated. He hadn't just lied. He had replaced me with my own best friend. And now, she was carrying the child he wanted me to give him. The pain came back in waves, hot, suffocating, unbearable. I closed the door behind Mama Nkechi and collapsed to the floor. I looked at Ziora, sleeping peacefully in her crib. My daughter. My angel. The child he rejected because of her gender. The same child now being mocked indirectly by the announcement of his chosen heir. I didn't cry. Not this time. My tears had dried. Instead, I picked up my pen and wrote Tunde a letter. To the man who broke me. You gave up on your family because you couldn't handle truth, loyalty, or real love. You chased shadows and now worship a baby bump, hoping it delivers you the boy your ego desires. But let me remind you, you already have a child. A beautiful, strong, brilliant daughter who will grow into a woman that you'll someday wish you had stood beside. This isn't a threat. It's a promise. She will rise. And I will rise with her. You made your choice. Now live with it. The woman you lost. I didn't post the letter. I didn't need to. It was for me. To let go. To release him from my heart. And to prepare myself for the next chapter. Not as Tunde's wife, not as Uju's victim, but as Ziora's mother and my own woman. Because pain may break us. But betrayal? Betrayal teaches us to build stronger walls, sharper senses, and unshakable self-worth. They say betrayal is one cut, but humiliation? That's 1,000 tiny blades. And every day after Tunde married Uju, I bled in silence. Yes, he married her. Barely 2 months after I threw him out, he gave Uju everything he denied me. A ring, a small traditional wedding, even public celebration. The same man who once said he wasn't ready for marriage after our court wedding, now proudly introduced Uju as the woman carrying my heir. That was the phrase he repeated like a broken record. She's carrying my son, my future, my pride. You gave me a girl, but she is giving me a man. Each word was a slap, each sentence a reminder of the womb I carried that was never enough. Tunde didn't stop there. Oh no, the devil works overtime when fed with ego. He insisted I return to live in the boys' quarters of our former house for Ziora's sake. She deserves to know her father, he said. But don't confuse her. Let her know who the real wife is. At first, I refused. But I had no job, no money, and nowhere else to go. So for the sake of Ziora, I accepted. I moved into the cramped servant quarters behind the house I once called home. And Uju? She moved into my bedroom. My mirror. My wardrobe. My life. The first day I saw her belly enter the kitchen I built, wearing the same wrapper she once borrowed from me, I swallowed pain like hot charcoal. She walked past me without greeting. Tunde followed behind her, laughing. Take it easy, my queen. The boy must not be stressed. I was standing at the sink, washing plates they used. Dishes I didn't eat from. Cups I didn't sip from. Trays that once belonged to me. I wanted to scream. But I stayed silent, for Ziora. The days that followed were worse. Uju would call me to mop her bedroom floor. Ehen, since you're staying here rent-free, At least be useful, she'd say. She would throw tantrums over hot water, even accuse me of wanting to poison her. And Tunde? He would side with her. She's carrying my son, for heaven's sake. He'd snap. Can't you respect her? Respect? The same woman who watched me push life out of my body now asked me to clean her shoes. One day, I collapsed while scrubbing the parlor. Uju rolled her eyes. You're always weak. No wonder your body only produced a girl. Tunde didn't even look up from his phone. No one asked if I was okay. Except Ziora. Tiny hands reached for my face, patting my cheek like she understood. And right there, on the cold floor, I knew. This wasn't the end of my story. I began saving. At night, after they slept, I'd sneak to my small corner and sew baby dresses. I started selling them to nurses at the nearby hospital. Every naira went into a hidden envelope. I told no one. Uju began to swell, her nose wide, her feet puffed. Tunde now complained about her smell and her demands. But pride wouldn't let him stop pretending. She's giving me a son, he kept saying. Even when she started screaming at him daily. Karma doesn't wear heels. She arrives silently. One night, Uju went into labor. I was in the back kitchen when I heard the screams. Tunde! My water has broken. Panic scattered the house. Tunde couldn't find the car keys. He ran to my room. Where's your phone? Call an ambulance. I looked him straight in the eye. Me? The useless woman. He blinked. Please, I beg you. I picked up my phone and called. At the hospital, she was rushed into emergency surgery. Hours passed. Tunde paced like a madman. The doctor finally came out. There were complications. The baby didn't survive. Silence. Time froze. Tunde collapsed to the chair. What? The doctor sighed. It was a boy. But we couldn't save him. Your wife is stable, but emotionally unstable. He turned to me with eyes I hadn't seen since before Ziora was born. Eyes that begged. Please, help me. I stood slowly, held Ziora's hand, looked at him one last time and said, You don't throw away gold for silver. You don't betray rain and cry during drought. You chose your path, Tunde. Now walk in it. And I turned and left. The night was heavy with rain, the kind that soaks deep into the earth and echoes like judgment in your soul. I had just finished feeding Ziora and was about to put her to bed when I heard a loud knock on the compound gate. Reluctantly, I walked into the darkness, rain splashing under my feet, only to see him, Tunde, drunk. Again. His white shirt was soaked, clinging to his skin. The smell of alcohol hit me before his words did. Zeno. I made a mistake, everything is a mess, he slurred, barely standing. I wanted to close the gate. I wanted to slam it in his face. But the image of Ziora, sleeping innocently inside, stopped me. So I let him in. Inside the house, he stumbled, knocking over a chair. I sighed, helping him to the room where he used to sleep before Uju's belly replaced mine in his heart. I laid him on the bed and turned to leave, but he caught my wrist. Please, don't go, he whispered. I froze. It was the way he said it. Soft. Broken. Like the man I married all those years ago. Before the lies. Before the betrayal. Before Uju. I never stopped loving you, he mumbled, his eyes watery. Uju is just noise. But your peace. I said nothing. Silence filled the room like smoke. Thick. Confusing. Dangerous. Then, it happened. A moment I didn't plan. A weakness I would live to regret. One touch turned into another. Pain turned into heat. And somehow, that night, we ended up sleeping in the same bed, as husband and wife again. I woke up the next morning and reality hit me like a storm. I sat up slowly, the sheets wrapped around my waist. Tunde lay beside me, snoring softly, like nothing had happened. Shame burned through my chest. What had I done? I got dressed quietly, picked up my daughter, and left the room. I didn't speak to him all day. He, too, avoided eye contact. No apology. No explanation. Just awkward silence. A week passed. Then 2. I tried to forget it. I buried myself in work. I ignored his knock when he tried to talk. I focused on Ziora. But something was wrong. By the 3rd week, I couldn't eat. I vomited every morning. My body felt strange, familiar, yet terrifying. I brushed it off as stress. Until the 6th week came, and I missed my period. Fear gripped me. I bought a test. 2 red lines. Positive. I was pregnant. Again. By the same man who destroyed me. The same man who belonged to someone else. I stared at the result in my shaking hands and burst into tears. Not because of the baby, but because I had let him do this to me again. Then came Uju, storming into the compound 3 days after I confirmed the pregnancy. She had been away at her aunt's in Abuja for rest and recovery. I had hoped she wouldn't come back. But there she was, face rounder, hips wider, voice sharper. She burst into the main house screaming. "Where is he?" Tunde came out slowly, avoiding her gaze. "So this is what you've become?" Uju barked, voice shaking with rage. "I leave for a few days, and you can't keep your thing to yourself? You went back to your trashy ex. The same woman you called Baron of Sons." I heard every word from the back kitchen, my heart pounding. "I was vulnerable," Tunde muttered weakly. Uju laughed bitterly. "Vulnerable? You're a weak, stupid man. You ruined me, and now you want to ruin her again too." She stormed toward me, her eyes filled with fire. "You think sleeping with him will change anything? He still wants a boy, not another disappointment." I stood my ground, tears in my eyes, but my voice was calm. "You're right. I was a fool to let him in again. But this baby..." I placed my hand on my stomach. "This child didn't ask for any of this. And I will not let your bitterness kill the peace I'm fighting to rebuild." Tunde looked up, stunned. "You're pregnant?" he asked. I didn't answer. I walked into my room and shut the door. That night, I cried not from shame, but from resolve. Because this time, I wouldn't make the mistake of trusting him again. The days after I discovered I was pregnant again were the darkest I had known. I sat for hours, staring into space, my hands trembling. The same man who had broken me was now the father of the child growing in my belly. I felt disgusted, trapped, angry, and more than anything, afraid. I told no one, not even Mama Nkechi or my younger sister. Only Ziora noticed something was wrong. She'd climb onto my lap and touch my stomach gently, like she knew. That night, I sat at the edge of my bed, tears flowing freely. My mind raced. Should I get rid of it? The shame, the judgment, the whispers, Tunde's smirk, Uju's venomous tongue. Another child, and no husband. Another round of mockery. But something pulled me to the clinic instead. At the hospital, I walked in with heavy steps, ready to tell the doctor I wanted to terminate it. The nurse asked if I wanted a scan first. "Why not?" I said flatly. "Let's know what we're about to erase." Minutes later, I lay on the cold bed. The screen lit up. The doctor squinted. 5 weeks, he said. Heartbeat is strong. Then he paused. "It's a boy." I gasped. My hand flew to my mouth. A boy? Tears rolled down the side of my face. Not because of the gender, but because it felt like God was telling me. This was no mistake. I heard my mother's voice in my head, soft and steady. "You are not cursed. You are chosen." I left the clinic with a new heart. I would keep him. Not for Tunde. Not to prove anything. But because he was mine. My son. My redemption. But secrets travel fast in houses with cracks. Somehow, Uju found out. The day she heard, she didn't knock, she barged in. "So you're keeping the bastard?" She spat, hands on her waist, belly already poking out slightly. "You think you've won?" I looked at her, calm. "It's not a competition." She laughed bitterly. "Please. You think you're the only one carrying Tunde's son? Guess what? I'm pregnant too. And this one, I'll keep. She walked out, chin high, hips swinging. But what she didn't know was, she had already lost. Because the truth? Uju had been seeing another man. A married businessman named Chief Mkanju, who gave her money, designer bags, and hotel nights she claimed were spiritual retreats. Even her first pregnancy, the one that ended in tragedy, was not Tunde's. She had used the pregnancy to manipulate him. She knew how desperate he was for a son. She fed that desperation, whispered lies, and crafted tears until he gave her a ring and a place in his house. But this new pregnancy? Also not Tunde's. And to make matters worse, the baby was a girl. I found out the truth through Maman Kechi, who overheard Uju on a phone call, screaming at Chief Mkanju for abandoning her when the belly is his. She mentioned a scan. I said it's your baby. And yes, it's a girl, but I already told Tunde it's a boy, and I won't change the story. I laughed so hard that night. I cried. The same Uju who mocked me for giving birth to a girl was now carrying one she planned to pass off as a boy. I didn't confront her. Not yet. Some truths reveal themselves better when silence holds them. I focused on my pregnancy. Tunde still tried to talk to me. Still knocked on my door asking how I was. I gave him nothing. I was done being his second choice. Then, one day, Uju staged a show. She came out to the compound in a tight maternity gown, holding her belly like a crown. "Move from that chair," she hissed at me. "Let real wives sit. I'm the mother of his son now." I stood up and smiled. "No problem. Just hope the truth doesn't deliver before the baby does." She looked confused, scared. I walked into my room, closed the door, and whispered to my unborn son, "When you arrive, the world will finally know the difference between a womb full of lies and one full of purpose."